Oh,
Thanks.
Firstly, thanks so much for having me here. Everybody's been really welcoming. I'm having a fantastic time. I keep saying to myself, where am I? I'm in Boston.
Well, dreams do come true because we watch all the videos. We follow your content as well, so it's a good partnership, I think.
Fantastic. No, it's really great to be here and have access to talk to you guys about all sorts of different things. I want to talk today about Nitro because that is the big thing at the moment. Now, there's lots of other brands like and other brands which beep, and I'll beep all of them out. So if you're watching at home, that's what's happening there. We're talking about other brands.
They've already been beeped. You're efficient.
There's some other foams out there that simply don't measure up to what you've got with Nitro at the moment. We know there's lots of different forms of Nitro. I've come to know that by measuring them myself with some durometer things, just basic measurements and things. So where does some of these different foams or the different versions of Nitro fit into the current lineup? Because I think there's a lot of runners out there that are kind of picking up PUMA shoes going, this has got Nitro, but this feels different to this. So where are we with those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, maybe I'll just give you a short overview of the Nitro process in general, and then we can talk about some of the more details.
That sounds great.
Nitro for us is really a three-step process. So it actually starts with what we call the core, center of running efficiency or energy, we sometimes say. But this is just the raw material. Lots of brands use different raw materials. EVA is kind of the old stuff, and EDDBUD is kind of on the better end. We have two different versions of Nitro. I'll talk to you about those in a minute, but this is kind of our starting point, where it's the raw material, and it's one of the plastics, like many of them are.
It's like a grade school size.
Exactly. Maybe 6C or something. This is definitely children's. But we put this into an autoclave, into a supercritical chamber,
Yep.
and it actually pops up into popcorn almost like this. And the way that works, and people talk a lot about supercritical foaming, maybe you've heard of this.
Yep.
So it's not compression or injection, it's supercritical foaming. People say, oh, nitrogen, how does that work? The nitrogen gas actually goes into really high pressure and high heat and becomes a supercritical fluid. So it's not a liquid, it's not a solid, it's not a gas, it is supercritical nitrogen that injects to make this into that. And that's why it stays so lightweight and still gives us the rebound and the bounce that we're looking for. So the two things that we say that we're doing different is one is we're using a higher quality raw material than, one of the highest quality materials that I could find, that we as a team could find, and then and then using the best process, which is nitrogen. And so we expand it to get this piece. Then the last step is kind of the compression, where we get the final molded nice lines and design details.
One thing I'm finding, as I've tested out lots of the different Nitro shoes, get them out the box, put them on, they feel great, they continue to feel great,
yeah.
But there's other foams out there, they feel great for a while,
yeah.
Then they start to tear, they start to wear down, they start to lose that magic feeling that we all love. When you first put the shoes on, you're like, oh man, yeah, this is what I want, that we all love. So what's the difference there? How come this is lasting, and the others are?
It's like anything, it's like cooking, it's like doing anything. You use better raw materials, you're likely to get a better result. So we, with both Nitro and then Nitro Elite, we use the best raw materials that we can find, and we're actually continuously innovating them while staying consistent with our messaging, of course. But most of our core Nitro is, at started it was mostly 43C, and it was a TPEE raw material, so a version of a thermoplastic. And then for race day, we're using the PUMA, which is highest energy, lightest weight. Durability isn't always as good, but it depends on the runner a lot. But yeah, there's 7 to 10 metrics when we're making any foam that we look at. Some we dial up and some we dial down depending on the experience, because every shoe, every detail, every foam, every spec is really about delivering the experience that we want to the runner.
So something like the ForeverRun Nitro, obviously there's a couple of different elements there, isn't there?
Yeah.
You've got the outer section. It's almost like where you get on the old basketball shoes, like almost like that cup sole kind of thing around, and then you've got something else in the middle. So here it is.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a newer version of the process. But so we not only use both these are TPEE based nitros, but we use two different durometers. So the rim here is a 47C. Still pretty soft, but a little bit firmer, and then the internal is 43C. So that when you sink in, you get that real soft cushion underneath. We have nice wrap-ups as part of our run guide system, and then also a little bit more, firmness overall for more support.
this shoe is a beautiful shoe. You guys out there will know I've reviewed it recently. I've been walking around in it here in Boston as well. There's just something really quite magical about it out the box, and I found it's just getting better and better and better the more I've used it. So I know there's some slight stability elements here. I didn't find them like overtly sort of present there. Maybe other people will, but could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great point, because in the old days you'd look at stability shoes and you'd see a big hunk of dark thing under the medial arch and go, okay, it's a stability shoe, here's your stability bar. That worked for some people, but the research would suggest that didn't work the best, and certainly not for everyone. So what we're really focused on is our run guide system, and there's many elements of that. Certainly a firmer heel counter and cup for support. I did talk about the wrap up.
Yep.
That's a big piece. Also, I would highlight, even comparing with like a Velocity, the geometry differences where the ForeverRun really has a wider heel and a wider forefoot as well, particularly in the forefoot. One of the very, very small details, and I think you can see kind of the coal molded rubber, but the medial side here is actually variced out a little bit.
Just juts out a little bit.
Just a little bit. From working with, Wouter Hoekkammer and the researchers, Thomas Milani, that we've done, varicing is the one thing that the research shows can actually help people that need a stability shoe and overpronate. And then, other little small details, right? Like the insole, we have a little bit of a metatarsal spread. But again, in the olden days, they would kind of give you one thing and say, this one thing works for everyone. Our research didn't back that up in the same way. So we have those 6 or 7 different elements that are all part of that run guide system in ForeverRun.
I can remember my wife needed a stability shoe. She was going to run like half marathon. They gave her one and just completely wrecked her knee. It wasn't what she needed. It was just too overtly rigid. This I find it's got hints there of it if you require it, but I don't think it's the sort of shoe that you just, if you need a stability shoe, great. If you don't need one, it can still work for you. I don't think it's going to be, it's not just putting it into that category of like, oh, well, I can't wear the ForeverRun Nitro. I don't need a stability shoe. You're going to miss out. That's all I'm going to say.
And I would say, two smart people can argue, right? Is it a neutral shoe with stability elements, or is it a stability shoe that works for neutral people? For me, I definitely find it in that second category. It's a stability shoe that works for those people. But if you're neutral like I am, and it sounds like you are, you can run in that as well and enjoy it. So that's the idea.
So Fast Start, Todd, really great shoe. I find it quite like an aggressive shoe. It's kind of like for me, the AC/DC of running shoes, right? It's not one you're going to put on and you're going to go, I'm just going to go out for a quiet little jog around the park or something. It's one that you really want to get going for, so turn it up to 11.
Yeah.
Spinal Tap reference. So what is it that makes that shoe tick? I'm very keen to know what the differences are between foams here, because there's clearly something else going on. What's the secret seasoning that's going in? Are you allowed to tell me even? Or will you have to blindfold me and take me to the back cave?
I'll make you a deal. I'll only tell you what I can tell you, okay?
Tell me what you can tell me. That sounds like a good deal. What do you reckon?
No, Fast R was really designed for aggressive running, I would say, particularly forefoot and midfoot type runners, which a lot of our elites.
So Todd's just put another 50p in the meter. If you're in the UK, you'll understand what I'm talking about there.
Fast R is so fast it just ran the lights out. So no, we really designed this for midfoot to forefoot strikers and really aggressive running. It has, I think, easily the most aggressive rockered plate shape kind of in the industry. We really wanted to put the plate close to the ground, but with a little bit of kind of cushioning protection for maximum propulsion, but then elevate the heel. So a lot of those people that are landing more midfoot to forefoot, you're kind of landing there, you're doing a quick little rock back, and then you're going forward. That's why we chose to use a little bit firmer, pro foam piece in the heel to actually, once you rock back, instead of like rocking back and sinking in, we wanted you to hit the ground and be ready to go right away. So
I guess there's some stability there as well from the pro foams. It's a little bit more resilient, I guess. It's not quite as compressive.
Exactly. And also we do have these micro slits on the lateral side. So if somebody is landing kind of on their heel, this will decouple a little bit and give you a little bit more of a softer landing. But no, this shoe is designed for powerful propulsion. And I would just compare that to like the Deviate Elite 2 that's based more on lightweight propulsion.
Yeah, I found with the Deviate Elite 2, that one for me is probably the most versatile of the super shoes anyway.
Yeah.
Of any, I'm talking any brand here.
Yeah.
I got that shoe on for, I think that if you're running a race, regardless of who you are, so pace is relative, right, to runners.
Totally.
You know, one person's fast pace is someone's slower pace, and that's cool. But with this shoe, I think my question for you would be, was that your aim to try to make something that was like the most sort of versatile thing that's going to fit lots and lots of people? Whereas the Fast R, for me, like you said, feels a little bit more AC/DC.
Yeah, I mean, the Deviate Elite and now the second version really just started as we wanted to find the absolute best foam that we could in the entire world and then bring it to life in a shoe. Deviate was already underway, and you know, Molly was going to the Olympics, and so we worked on the Elite real quick. But you know, again, power propulsion versus lightweight. I would say certainly the shoe works for, you know, all the 220 female marathoners that we have,
absolutely.
and guys running, you know, 212. Hendrick ran and some other people the other day. But it's really, really fast. It works for everyone. My recommendation, if somebody's maybe 4-hour marathon, maybe even less or a little bit more, would be to actually go with the lighter weight shoe. I think that they will get the benefit, the max benefit of the lightweightness.
Yep.
The foam's still really good and you know, compressive and responsive, but I mean, the plate is there. It's not too intrusive. Whereas Fast R is really going to benefit the elites and the people going really, really quite quickly. So yes, this works for everyone. I personally have raced 1,500 mile road races on this. 2 months I'm running Comrades 56 mile 90K road race in this. So this is my baby through and through. But
Ultra Ride. So I was going to ask Todd about the Ultra Ride. Now that was the first ever Puma shoe that I reviewed. I picked it up on a discount or something. We got to do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
So Ultra Ride, decoupled heel, and sort of mid to forefoot.
Yeah.
Was there some sort of was there some DNA there going into the Fast R?
I mean, the full story is when I got to Puma, the first shoe I ever briefed, I said, we should make a P-Bax or P-Bus statement shoe at about $160. We didn't end up making that shoe in that exact moment. But there was another opportunity when the Olympics were still supposed to be in 2020. It feels like a different world.
Yeah.
But of a plated shoe, and the Ultra Ride was actually the first shoe I briefed at Puma and we made. And it did okay. It kind of did what it was supposed to do. But I think that Puma's had a lot of different approaches to running over the years, and some were good, some were less good, but none of them were consistent. And that's where we are with Run Puma and with Nitro now, is really having a consistent foam technology, a consistent story. Did you actually run in Ultra Ride?
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Like tempo for me, that's like 7 minutes 30 a mile.
Yeah.
It's like my marathon pace now.
Sure.
And it was great. It was fantastic.
Sure.
It was why is no one talking about this?
I actually liked and enjoyed it. It was only 90 Earth credits at the time. It was down there. But I mean, right after that time, we started to learn. I learned a lot more about like foaming and technology and that things. And
things have moved forward so quickly since then.
Super
computing,
critical.
It's just gone like that. It never stands still for long. So
I mean, supercritical foaming and all that, and so that was kind of the last running shoe before the big Nitro collection. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Some good nostalgia about you remembering my first Puma project.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I like that. I like those sort of stories. A little bit of the history there. It's cool.
Yeah, shout out to Kyle Kletsma, that was the lead designer on that project a little while ago. But
so, Todd, with the heel counter here on the Fast R, can you tell me a little bit about how you came up with this idea? Because there's a few shoes I've tested it over my time, testing all these hundreds of shoes.
Yeah.
They're almost always sort of like encapsulated within the materials here. So what was it that drew you guys to positioning on the outside of the shoe? Yeah,
it was really a minimalist design, and we actually experimented with a couple different versions of this heel counter, and even one that didn't have a heel counter, and I know some other shoes in the industry have done that. If you don't put anything, it will just kind of like sink down. But if you put it internally, it can actually get kind of bulky and sometimes overbuilt. So the little bit of an external heel counter, it's there. It provides good structure, so you get good, stand up. And also when that's like a little bit more rigid there, it actually keeps the sides hugging closer to your ankle bone, malleolus, etc. So it really does serve a function of giving us a good fit.
So I guess you can keep it thinner by having but still with the extra strength by having the fin that just comes out.
That's kind of the idea, exactly. And also, I mean, it is kind of a cool design on a fast race day shoe. But no, definitely everything is about speed. So that's how that works.
There's a certain sort of marinus or shark-like feel about it. I know, it's certainly cool.
Well, if you're running behind me, don't try to clip my heels because I got
it's a safety feature as well.
I got something to protect myself here.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you some stuff about you.
Let's go.
So Todd, you know I love the shoes, but you know I love you too.
Oh.
Right? So I know you've been racing recently.
Yeah.
You did a marathon the other day.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know you were really happy with your time.
I was stoked. Yeah, so my A goal for this season is Comrades, the largest ultra marathon in the world, in June in South Africa. So I like to do more than one race this season because I like to get in shape and then keep going. But so my plan was, marathon April, 50 miler trail Wisconsin in May, and then the 90K road race in June. January training was great. February I got pneumonia.
I remember seeing you.
It was really, really rough, and fitness plummets, mileage plummets. A lot of runners and new runners or people that don't know, when you get sick, sometimes you try to jump right back into it, and then you get other injuries or other things. So I did just the minimum to keep a little bit of fitness. So February was a down month. March, I spent a lot of time in Vietnam on a development trip, but I was getting my miles in. Maybe some good heat training. It was a lot of 98-degree high humidity days over there. But I started to get some good volume under me. I took a down week right before the race, and I just got this nice pop of energy. Have you ever felt that?
Yeah. Sometimes you can take a down week, and it can have the reverse effect. But other times the body feels refreshed, and suddenly like your energy levels sort of rise, and just at the right time, you get to the start line. And you go in, you're thinking, this is going well.
My plan was to run the first half pretty easy, like 8 flats, maybe right around there, and then maybe go 7 somethings the second half. That lasted for 4 miles. And then I was like, wait, maybe 7:30s will feel better than 8s. And from 4 to 14, I was like locked in, doing good. We got a little bit of rain like everyone else. And I started to feel kind of heavy leg around then, which we were actually texting about, like, what happens after mile 14? And I said, you gotta find that right pace. But I just dialed it back to 8s, which is pretty close to what my goal pace will be for 50 miles. 3:30 marathon's really good. If you can do 2 of those in a row, that's kind of what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, I know one of our local runners, Yeovil Road runners, he's done Comrades a few times, I think. In fact, that's one he likes to go back to. So you may be there, but I wish you all the best on that one, my friend.
Well, for sure, and I'll say too, Brett and Ray, the PUMA South Africa team, I'm excited to go spend some time with them. But it is a downhill year, so I've been working a lot of downhill stuff, and that can certainly pound the legs a little bit.
Oh, different places, different strains, in different places.
But we're working on it, and glad we got to share a few miles on a group run this morning as well.
Yeah, man, that was really good, really enjoyable, that one.
Perfect, cool.